When I pulled into my driveway that Thursday afternoon, I felt it instantly. Something was off. It wasn't the weather. It wasn't the quiet street. It wasn't even the way the wind rattled the branches. It was the air itself, heavy, still, like the whole yard was holding its breath and waiting for me to notice what had happened. I stepped out of the truck slowly, almost afraid to confirm the feeling tightening inside my chest. My boots crunched through the damp leaves as I rounded the side of the house, and that's when the bottom dropped out of my stomach. My creek barrier, my entire barrier, was gone, not damaged, not partially disassembled. Gone, vanished like it had never existed. My eyes swept the muddy bank, confused, then furious as the truth hit me. Jagged pieces of bent rebar stuck up from the earth, like broken ribs. Splintered wood, twisted mesh, and deep claw-like trenches in the soil showed exactly where the sections had been yanked out. And right in the center of the destruction, half buried in mud, like a mocking souvenir, lay a bright orange HOA enforcement notice flapping arrogantly in the breeze. For a moment, I genuinely forgot how to breathe. I just stood there, keys still clutched in my hand, staring at the raw, open wound carved into my property. That barrier wasn't decoration. It wasn't some half-baked DIY project I slapped together on a weekend. It was safety. Pure, necessary, life-saving safety. I had built it after the first time the creek reminded me what lived in it. After the first time I watched a massive gator crawl out of the dark water and onto my lawn like it owned the place. After the first time Scout barked and growled like he was trying to hold back death itself. I remembered every bolt, every sandbag, every reinforced panel. I remember the fear in my chest when I first saw those glowing reptile eyes watching my yard. That barrier was never optional. It was survival. And now it was gone because someone behind the desk decided it ruined the aesthetic. Footsteps shuffled behind me, and I didn't need to turn around and know who it was. Dale, my retired surveyor neighbor, a man who spent his mornings trimming bushes and pretending he wasn't keeping track of everything that happened on this street, walked up with a bottle of sweet tea in hand like a peace offering. He wasn't smiling. Saw the trucks, he said quietly. They came yesterday morning. Whole crew. My jaw tightened. Karen with them? He nodded, front and center. Looked real proud of herself, too. Didn't say much, just pointed at the barrier, and the workers tore into it. My stomach twisted with a cold anger I hadn't felt in years. Karen Whitmore, the HOA president, queen of pastel cardigans, petty notices, and the kind of power trips that made small people feel big. She'd been after that barrier from day one, but I always thought even she had limits. Turns out she didn't. They didn't even wait for me to come back. I said, voice flat. Dale shifted uncomfortably. They knew you were gone. They planned it. Of course they did. They wanted no confrontation, no discussion, no chance for me to defend the one thing keeping danger out of this neighborhood. They made sure I wasn't here. Then they tore down the only line between the creek and our homes. I crouched beside the muddy trench where one of the panels used to stand. The earth was ripped open, roots exposed, the bank already starting to sag without the reinforcement I had carefully placed. I pressed my hand against the ruined soil and felt the cold moisture seeping through my glove. The destruction wasn't careless. It was violent. The kind of force you use when you want to erase something completely. The HOA didn't just remove the barrier. They tried to erase the problem. They tried to erase the warning. They tried to erase me. The flag on the notice snapped in the wind again, and I finally reached for it. HOA notice of enforcement. It read, violation, unauthorized construction, action taken, removal per HOA authority, effective immediately, no hearing, no warning, no appeal, just power used recklessly, used arrogantly, used stupidly. They said it blocked the view. Dale muttered, said the creek is communal property now, so they can do whatever they want. I laughed once, sharp and humorless. They think they manage the creek? They think they control wildlife? They think nature gives a damn about their pretty view? Dale didn't answer. He didn't have to. We both looked toward the water. The creek was low that day, but the air had that thick, swollen smell, the kind that comes right before storm breaks open. The forecast said 3 straight days of rain were coming. Heavy rain. The kind that turns gentle creeks into rushing, angry rivers. The kind that jolts dormant creatures awake. The kind that sends wildlife seeking higher ground straight into the neighborhood. Straight toward the pool Karen was so desperate to protect. Straight toward the clubhouse where families gathered every weekend. Straight toward homes with children who had no idea what lived in those waters. And now nothing stood between that rising water and the community but soft mud and wishful thinking. I looked at the exposed bank, the collapsed soil, the empty space where my wall once stood, and my chest tightened with the cold, certain understanding that something had just shifted. Something dangerous. Something inevitable. They made a mistake. I whispered. My voice didn't sound angry anymore. It sounded final. Certain. Like the calm before a storm. Dale swallowed. What are you going to do? I didn't answer right away. I walked slowly down the bank, running my hand over the jagged, torn earth, taking in every detail, every bit of damage the HOA either didn't understand or didn't care about. I'm going to document everything, I said finally. Every broken post, every inch of erosion, every violation they've committed. I looked back toward my house, toward the camera system I'd installed after the first gator encounter. And if anything happens, anything at all, they're going to answer for it. Dale nodded, but his eyes drifted toward the creek, like he already knew something was coming. Something they didn't prepare for. Something they chose to ignore. I turned toward the house. Scout stood inside the sliding door, tail stiff, ears pinned, staring at the creek like he could sense the danger moving beneath the surface. They think they fix a problem, I said under my breath. But all they did was invite it in. And with the storm clouds building in the distance, with the air thickening, with the creek already rising by the minute, I knew one thing with absolute certainty. Nature was about to teach the HOA a lesson they would never forget, and it would start with a scream.